talk about how to protect yourself from an attack using a collie stick, also known as the Eskrima or Arnis stick. I'm going to be using one of these or both of these. These are lightweight aluminum. They usually come in rattan or wood, some kind of wood. I don't have them with me, so I'm going to show you with these. But I want to show you from the start that you have some simple techniques that you can use with your collie stick or a Eskrima stick. And the basic idea is to keep the stick between you and the threat. If they were to pull out a blade, if they were bigger, if there were multiple attackers, this becomes a force multiplier. First of all, it's longer than most blades, so you have reach advantage, but you also are able to strike with a lot of force that you can't just strike with using your hands or your feet or your elbows. And so you're gonna use this basic stick for basic slicing type strikes. You're gonna use it for jabbing motions with both the long side forward and the short side forward. You can use it with two hands pushing through. Think about smashing through his nose, his teeth, his throat for self-defense. You can use it kind of like a police baton, the old school baton, a right baton, where you bend your knees and you jab it into the soft tissue of his body and his center line, moving him back. You can take out the knees. Maybe the attack is coming from a violent animal. You can use it to strike into the nose or the eyes or the head of the animal and move them back. So there are many things that you can do with your simple collie stick or a Eskrima Arnis stick. I'm going to show you, but first I want to get you warmed up. And before we start all that, I want to show you, because I get these comments every once in a while, you can't fight with a stick, stick fighting is silly. And I just wanted to show you that law enforcement uses a stick. When you look at it, it's about exactly the same length. So I didn't invent it. I didn't come up with this idea of using a stick in self-defense. Law enforcement carries a stick like this, or the old school, we carried the side handle baton when I was a military policeman in the Marine Corps, the PR-24, which is also based on a martial arts weapon, based on a tonfa. And then I also carried just a straight baton, which does not collapse like this. So it is an effective self-defense tool. It is used around the world. A lot of law enforcement still carry a rattan stick in parts of Southeast Asia, and they use it to push people back, to punish people. They use it all the time in self-defense, and you can too. But I want you to see what you can do with it. First, you gotta put this thing away. Collie sticks are meant to be used with one in each hand, collie sticks or Eskrima sticks. And the first thing I'm gonna show you how to do, and this is not gonna be traditional Filipino martial arts, this is gonna be you and I working on getting warmed up in the garage dojo so that you can stay safe from injury when you train. Now, if someone's coming up and they're trying to stab you with a knife, you're not gonna take out your sticks and warm up and do all kinds of fancy things. This is just for your training so that you can increase the speed and the power of your strikes, increase your grip so you don't lose your stick for self-defense, increase the accuracy of all your strikes. So we're gonna do this, put your heels together. This is kind of like that Persian swinging club or Indian swinging club motion, just allowing you to warm up so that when you start doing these hard, fast strikes in practice, you're not gonna pull or tear anything. After you do this for 30 seconds, I want you to split the grip so that you're increasing the range of motion, increasing that stretch through your shoulder. You're gonna do this for 30 seconds, then you're gonna bend your elbows and you're gonna spin your collie sticks. This is to build flexibility in your wrist. When you do it, make sure your hand is closed. Don't do one of these. This is too easy. Keep the hand tight. Keep it closed anyway. I always say relaxed and firm at the same time. Alita's here. Good to see you, Alita. Doug's here. Hello, Doug. Good evening. Studer, nice to see you guys. Kevin asks, what's your best self-defense when you have a gun in your face? If someone's holding a gun in your face and they're asking you for your money, your wallet, your phone, give it to them. If you want, you can try to strip the gun out of their hand. I can teach you all that stuff, but from my experience and from the education that I've had all these years in practical self-defense, usually when someone pulls a gun out, they shoot you with it, or they want something from you that you can replace. So it's one or two. If they shoot you, there's nothing you can do about it. You're shot. Fight anyway. And if they want something, give it to them. Don't get shot over stuff that you can replace. So once you've done the spin both forward and in the reverse, I want you to spin it as you drop it. Now the purpose of these spins is that when you strike and you do come through and start to use your collie stick in self-defense, how to protect yourself from an attack, that spinning motion, both in practice and in application, is going to allow you to strike a lot harder. So these are force multipliers, taking what you have naturally, putting a big stick in your hand, creating leverage, and then striking using the tip. Now when you strike with these sticks, you're going to use the tip here, this part. It's going to do two things. One, the maximum amount of force and energy in your stick is right here. The second thing is that's going to cut the flesh. When you strike, if you're using it with two hands, then it doesn't matter so much that it's exactly the tip. But if you're doing a thrusting strike into his body, of course you're going to be hitting with the tip. But if you're smashing through the middle, then you can use the bar. In this case, it's made out of hard aluminum, and that'll knock his teeth down his throat for self-defense. That'll certainly move someone back. You can also box his ears. Because you're holding both sides of the stick, you've got great leverage. Again, force multiplier, it's connecting your entire core muscles, your chest, your back, your belly, your hips, your shoulders. You're striking here, bend the knees, thrust here, switch, thrust here, and then bringing it down on the top of his head. So back to that spin. You do a spin and then you drop it. You do a spin and you pull it up. So spin and drop, spin and pull it up. Once you get that motion, I want you to start on your shoulders, and this time you're going forward as if you're doing a strike. So you're bringing that strike, think about tempo, striking from here to here, coming through, coming back on the other side. Always keeping it tight, coming off your shoulders and never swinging from out here in space. If you were to close that distance and you're swinging like this, your arm's is gonna wrap around him, you're never gonna hit him. You start from here, coming for here, coming from here. So it's always, they're gonna run into your stick if you're coming off your shoulders. So striking through and striking through. So with this warm-up motion, you're spinning and you're bringing your hand forward, and then you're spinning, and you're coming back, and then you're doing the other side. So we're coming one, and we're coming two, one, and two. I'm going to go over the strikes in just a minute. Roland says you just hit on the head. It doesn't have to be the head. Roland, that's a great question, because a lot of people think that that's the only thing you have to do is hit him in a certain spot, or you practice always hitting in a certain spot. If you think about this first angular strike, that can be his forehead, his jaw, his neck, could be his shoulder, could be his elbow, could be his hand. He might be reaching out with that knife trying to stab you. You might be smashing the hand that's holding the knife. You might be coming into his ribs. You might be going down into his thigh, into his knee, taking out his knee, or taking out his shin. You also could be being attacked by like a savage pit bull that's off the leash and that's been roaming the streets, mauling somebody. You might come upon a mauling, or it's going after your dog or something. You happen to have a stick for self-defense, and then you would be striking at that low angle. Now, determining your target comes from Tim Larkin's book, When Violence is the Answer. This principle-driven self-defense. Principle-driven self-defense means paying attention to what's around you, situation awareness, always the first principle, but then thinking about what can you remove or destroy. His ability to see, breathe, temporarily or permanently, his ability to be awake. He can't use that knife and operate that knife, that machete, that hatchet, that stick that he's carrying. He can't use that against you if he's simply knocked out. That might be when you're going for his temple, or you're going into that process of nerves in his neck, that when you strike that, it sends a message to his brain, he falls to the ground, he's unconscious. That might be your target. You have to acquire a target. Target acquisition means asking yourself the question, what can you remove or destroy? Again, it might be he's coming at you with a weapon in his hand. He's got a blade, he's coming out, and you're moving back as you strike, and then forward, and then knocking him out on the top of his head. So you're here with these. We're still in this warm-up. And I want you to get good at doing this in training, and again, this is so you have a harder, faster strike. This is also going to help with your accuracy as you fight from behind your stick. Simply pushing one hand and then the other hand, and you can speed it up and slow it down, but you should be well warmed up by now. There's also in traditional Filipino martial arts something called sinawali, which means weaving, like a weaving pattern, where you would do these strikes in succession, and you might go to the head, you might go to the body, you might go high and low, you might go up and down and then high and low. And we can learn those on another class. I'll teach you those later. But for right now, I just wanted you to get basically warmed up. Doug says he read Tim Larkin's book. It should be required reading, and I agree 1,000%. If you are at all serious about protecting yourself, your family, any level of self-defense, and you want to understand the difference between self-defense and martial arts, if you want to know the difference, read that book, When Violence is the Answer. I put the description in the link, with the link in the description. I'm all backward with my words today. I worked again overnight last night. I've been working overnight in a guardhouse or on a golf course looking for people jumping the fence. There's nobody out there, not right now anyway. And I'm not used to staying up all night and then having to operate on a few hours of sleep. It's hard for me to sleep during the day. Maybe I'll get to it, or maybe I'll find a different position at some point, but my brain is all foggy. If you've ever worked an overnight shift, or if you work an overnight shift now, put that in the comment section below and give me some tips. How am I gonna survive working all the way through? It's beautiful out there though. It's so beautiful. The moons have been full this past week. It's just gorgeous. See all the animals. There's so many animals down here to see, and all kinds of bumps in the night. Stuff that I love, paying attention, listening, looking, being present in the moment. So, but it makes me a little foggy up here. But I have to train, no matter what. My body hurts. My hips have been on fire lately. My brain's foggy. My shoulder hurts a little bit. But you got to train. You just got to keep going. And it's not no pain, no gain. I don't always believe that's the right way. But I believe that you're going to be in pain whether you lie on the couch, lie in bed, sit in a chair, feeling sorry for yourself, or you get up and you get in the garage and it's 100 degrees and you get some exercise and your breathing gets challenged and you start to sweat. You're going to feel a certain way anyway. You might as well exercise while you feel that way. All right, or train self-defense. So the first thing I want you to do, put one foot forward, the other foot back, the side of the body that's forward. I don't care if you start right or left, but you're gonna do everything on the right hand evenly on the left hand. So you're gonna do both sides in this training. How to protect yourself from an attack with your collie stick. So right foot forward, right hand, get behind your stick, get your other hand up, always other hand up. You can put your helmet on real quick. Your hand comes to your head, absorb a strike, 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 moving back. But always keep this hand up. The first is gonna be this first angle coming through from your shoulder to your hip. And I want you to start slow at first, gradually increasing your speed. Make sure you have a good handle on your stick. And then by the time you've done about 30 seconds, you should be full power striking. And I want you to full power strike, hit as hard as you can in practice, so that when you need it for real, it's not the first time you felt as hard and as fast as you can go. When you defend yourself with the collie stick against a knife, especially, or some other multitude of people, group of people trying to stomp your head into the ground, and you need this force multiplier, fighting is always going to be fast as you can make it. It's hard and fast. You want follow through. That means from here to here. You can do this. You'll see sometimes the collie guys start whacking their sticks together, especially when they do the sinawali. It looks really cool and it's really fun, and there's a lot of value in that. But I want you, for self-defense, to get used to this first angular strike in full speed and without it coming out of your hand. And the second angle coming off of the opposite shoulder. And again, for 30 seconds, that's how you're gonna build stronger, faster muscles. That's how you're gonna develop the capacity to defend yourself. And when you need it, you can go to his head, you can go to his ribs, you can go to his knees, but you felt what it's like to follow through on your strikes and go as hard and as fast as you can. Now the next angle starts on your hip and comes up to the opposite side. And as you do that, your palm is always facing the ceiling. And that's so when you run into his body, it doesn't come out of your hand. If your hand were down and you ran into something, your fingers will just pop off. It'll peel out. Yeah, Shadow Rose says, they look like batons wielded by the blind Lord. You might have remembered, what was it? Daredevil, the old cartoon. I used to love that comic book when I was a kid. The old comic book, Marvel, I think. Then they made movies. For a while it had Ben Affleck, I think. Yeah, Jennifer Garner was the female Daredevil or whatever she's called. I don't remember, I just remember that he was fighting with these sticks that he would have stuck on his back, right? And then he whips them out, and then he's defending himself, which is what I want you to be able to do. So third angle from the hip to the opposite shoulder, fourth from the opposite hip to the same shoulder. And again, look at how all your strikes are in the middle of your body. They're in the center line of your body, which means you're hitting him in his center line. Think about him reaching here, coming at you with a punch or a choke. He's trying to slap you, he's trying to slice you, stab you, smashing that hand out of the way, coming up this way. So you have angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, angle 5. You're gonna bring it across, angle 6, bringing it back, and then number 7, I want you to bring it straight down on his head. Now there are many styles of Filipino martial arts, Kali, Arnis, Eskrima, versions of those, Salat, Sikal, Sayak, and they have different angles, different numbering systems, but they're all similar, and I don't want you to get caught up thinking that you need and perfect all that stuff. I just want you to know you can hit him at an angle, both up and down. You can hit him horizontally to his head, to his body, to the knees, right? And you can hit him straight down on the top of his head. You can break his clavicle. He's reaching, you can smash that hand. He's holding on to your wife or your child, your grandchild. You can break that hand with that downward strike and just smash him. Around the cabin asteroid, I got these. I don't know if they make them anymore, but a company called combative.com. K, starts with a K, not a C. KOMBATIV.com. They're in Texas, I think. Texas or Arizona, something like that. They also make like gnarly knives and all kinds of wicked swords and stuff. But go to combative.com. They'll have something like this, but they don't have this exact pair. He sent these to me years and years ago. I personally prefer the wood, especially rattan, because it's lightweight, it's easy to train with. These are kind of heavy, and you can get those in the link in my description. And these are going to be super expensive compared to most Kali sticks. You can get a pair of rattan for like $8 each or something like that in that link. It's something like, I don't know exactly what it is. Go to the description to find out how much they are, but they're not that expensive. Start with rattan, and then it's just such a great practice tool. And you can bring it with you everywhere you go. You can't take it on the plane. It'll take your stick away from you. And if you learn how to defend yourself with a Kali stick, this is the exact same length as most Kali sticks. Look at that. Same length. So you could defend yourself with an expandable baton. That first little tap there was kind of sissy. I'm not supposed to say that word, I guess. It wasn't very strong. We'll say that. It's funny when you're sleep deprived, you don't work the same way. Let's see, who else? Around the Cabin says thank you. Ronald Raygun asks, the stick versus the push dagger, who wins? They get that dagger and you're done. Stick against knife, you have a reach advantage. You can keep them off, ideally. Maybe you smash them in the head with one of your strikes and you knock him out as he's coming in. If they come in and they know anything about how to use one of these for real, maybe they've been to prison, they know how to do the sewing machine, they know how to close that distance, and you let them get in, you'll be stabbed with this so many times you won't even know it before you go to the ground in a pool of your own blood, and there's nothing anybody can do to save you. So if they have one of these, don't be there, right? if you can get out of there, get out of there. Try not to be in the places where you're going to get hurt. And at the same time that I said that, I realized you don't always have a choice. You might live in a neighborhood where violent crime has exploded. You might be in Chicago and there are all those idiot protesters out there and violent extremists trying to break everything down, hurting people. And you can't go out of your house. I've been watching all these reports from the DNC last week, and there were all these people just saying, you know, they don't care about politics, right or left. They just want to be able to go to the store, and they can't because there are 2,000-3,000 people marching down the street. And I'm not saying that they're all the ones doing all the violent stuff, because they're not. There are plenty of reasons, you know, plenty of groups, different groups all over the place, lots of diversity, and the criminals who are attacking innocent people right now. But if it does happen to you, I want you to have a fighting chance. And a stick is a simple way to defend yourself, especially the collie stick. You can protect yourself from an attack with your collie stick, or using your collie stick. So back to these basic strikes, because I want you to master these before you move on. And I'm just going to go over them again. You're going to then practice with right foot forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want you to do a thrust coming up. And you'll often see Filipino martial arts guys will pop the hand on a lot of these strikes. And the reason that they're doing that is they're practicing for when they also use one of these, and they're doing this instead. And this might go into the muscle, and that might create a vacuum. That's why, like on a good fighting knife, you'll see a groove like this, or like in the Marine Corps K-bar I always had. I got plenty of them here still. There's what's called a blood groove, and that's so you can break the seal and pull your weapon out and won't get stuck in there, and the blade won't break off, and then you don't have anything to defend yourself with. But that's why, if you've ever seen these guys, I can't even do it right now, popping their hands and stuff, they're training themselves, getting the good habit of assisting pulling that weapon back out. So you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Switch your side, put your other foot forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, and then you start to speed up as you go through. Think about footwork this way. Put your feet under your body, put one foot in front of the other one. Whichever hand's holding the stick, that foot goes forward. There's more complexity to the footwork later if you want to get into it, if you get into the martial art and you're learning the style. But learning how to protect yourself from an attack using a stick, I'm going to say simplify it. Put one foot in front of the other one, make yourself a smaller target, put the hard bony surface and the hard stick between you and the threat, and practice your basic angles, 7, 8, and then switch, 1, 2, starting to speed up. You want to come through faster and challenge yourself to grow. You have to get out of your comfort zone and then move on to the next set of techniques that I like to teach you that are more practical using the stick, that are not just strikes. This is great because you can keep somebody off of you and keep them back, right? You can also, as we said before, you can add a spin to increase the speed and the power in that strike as you come through. So that's something else you can practice. But I want you to see, you can now put the other hand on the stick. You have 2 ways to hold it. Push-up grip, alternate grip. Both hands facing the same way, both hands facing each other. From this position, you bend your knees a little bit. This is how you might use it if you were law enforcement on a riot line, pushing the riders back. You would bend the knees, getting yourself much better position. 1 foot forward, the other one back. And you go lower, so your center of gravity is lower than his. You've got the advantage because your knees are bent. You can also move faster forward and backward this way. From here, you just thrust. And you're pushing the tip. And this, again, can be done this way or this way. That tip is coming through into the soft tissue between the belly button and his privates. That's the first place I want you to think about striking. He's up here, he's coming at you here. You lower, bam, and you pop him right here in that thin fascia of muscle that when you tear that, you get a hernia. That's when your guts pop out of your muscle because it's torn, and then it's hanging there under your skin. It looks like you got a fist under your skin like that. Those of you who've ever had a hernia, a torn, the fascia there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thankfully, thank you God, I've never had that myself, but I've seen plenty of them, and it's pretty nasty. Doctor, I think, opens you the skin up with this glove, pushes your guts back in, and then sews that stuff up and puts a mesh patch on. It takes a long time to heal that. But you're gonna use that knowledge to move him back. From here, you can also lift that front hand if you need to. Now you stick it into his solar plexus, knocking his wind out. You can come up. You're not gonna wanna hit that sternum. That chest bone, it's just hard, right? But right here, you start to push on that. You hit that too hard, that's a fatal strike. You can crush his windpipe. The doctors can't get him fast enough. EMTs won't get him unless they can trach him, stick a straw down so he can breathe again. But if it's life or death, he's coming at you with a knife, he's coming at you with a baseball bat, he's trying to take your life or hurt your family, your child. You know, he's trying to steal from you your dignity, your freedom. You can push that, you can strike here, or you can go a little higher, stick it into his teeth, stick it into his nose, stick it between his eyes, stick it in his eye for self-defense. Again, the question Tim Larkin asks us to think about in self-defense principles in that book, When Violence is the Answer. What can you remove or destroy? His ability to see, breathe temporarily, permanently, all that stuff. His ability to be awake, his ability to hit you, maybe break that wrist. By the way, you're gonna be able to break the joints a little bit easier than the actual bone in the arm. But if you're using a stick like this, you're gonna pretty much break whatever you hit with those, if you're doing those full power strikes. So you're here, pushing here. Then I want you to turn so that you're in this position. So you're using now this hard bar of material. This is the case of metal. Maybe yours is rattan. You're gonna use that and smash into his face to push him back. It doesn't matter how big he is, and you'll see law enforcement use it all the time. When a police officer needs to take someone into a position of control, they will take their head and shove it on the top of the police car. They'll take their head and they'll shove it in the ground. If they're already on the ground and they're trying to control the guy, they will grab him by his head, put him on the ground if they can, because you know if you pin someone's head to the ground, any animal, then it's hard for them to move the rest of their body. So you're gonna take this and you're gonna move him back by shoving it through his face. Now from here, I want you to think about smashing with turning your wrist. This comes from Irish stick fighting, the shillelagh or shillelagh, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And traditionally, you'll be holding it like this, okay? So we're gonna start in this position, we're gonna thrust, we're gonna shove him back. The whole time you're advancing toward him, you're moving him away from you, coming in to stop his attack, and then rolling your wrist over. That becomes a very fast, explosive strike into the side of his head, into his jaw, his cheek, his forehead, the top of his head, and then you're gonna strike the other side. So you've got one strike and the other one, moving him back. Then, when you're ready, bringing it down hard and fast, right through the middle of his body, knocking him out, taking away his ability to operate his equipment that he's using to try to hurt you. Knock him out, turn his operating system off if you can. So I want you to practice, 2 hands on it, thrusting, shoving, twisting with this Irish stick fighting attack, and then down on the top of his head, either with the front hand or the back hand, or if you want, both. You can also bring it, lift it up under his chin and drive him back. Get him out of your face for self-defense. But it's very, very simple techniques. All right, back to the comments. Teach you the Shaolin. Used to do Kenpo karate. Yeah, Kenpo karate, they use hard oak and they're thicker, round. Jeff Speakman, The Perfect Weapon, one of my favorite movies when I was younger. He beat the snot out of people. And I think maybe the Daredevil weapon is more based on Kenpo. I think the Daredevil, he uses a 2 red stick. I think that's based on, I think it is, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong, if you know more about that. But yeah, this is very much like the Kenpo sticks. They just use a little bit different. CJ Esperon says, smash the like button, guys, show support, subscribe and share. Appreciate that very much. Only if you find value in it. If you don't like it, hopefully you've already bounced. If not, then hopefully I can bring you some value, but I appreciate it. Ronald says, not a blood groove, it's called a fuller, adds strength to the blade, it has nothing to do with suction blood. Thank you for that. I often say things that I've heard, as a young Marine, that's what we were taught, but I'm sure you're right. People misinterpret things all the time. Forever, I believed, as most people my age probably did, and most people now still probably believe, you strike someone's nose with a palm strike, it's gonna come up away from his skull, that cartilage is going to go into his brain, it's going to kill him instantly. And that's not true. You can just crush his windpipe and kill him within a few minutes, though, for self-defense. So, Robert, if that's what it's called, I'll take your word for it. Or Ronald, I love knives, but obviously I'm not a knife aficionado. See if we have any other great questions. If you have any other questions, let me know before we go. Giuseppe Caracco says, thanks for the instruction. I look tired. I am tired. Thank you for that. I'm exhausted, man. I'll get some more sleep. Tomorrow I got pulled like a double. I do like overnight tonight. Then I have a little bit of time off. I'll take the family to church, come back, get a quick nap, go to a birthday party for family, and then I'm back at the gate until 11 o'clock at night. But then, you sleep when you're dead. But you can sleep, sleep when you can sleep. So it's temporary, so it won't kill you. Gaurav says, Jai Shri Ram, India. A lot of questions about the political situation right now and who you're gonna vote for. We'll skip on that one. And let's see. Herman says, thrust, got it. Thrusting, I love the thrust. And CJ says, much respect from Australia. Really appreciate that. Black says, good night, go to sleep. I gotta go to work in just a little bit, so I'm gonna eat some dinner and pop a cup of coffee. And last night, I don't know if you've ever worked overnight, but I'll tell you the secret that I found staying awake, because I used to work overnight when I lived in the martial arts school for about 6 or 7 years, trained all day, taught classes all night. And then I had a friend who knew that I had been a military policeman. And he asked me, because he was starting a security guard company. And this was well over 20 years ago. And he said, hey, can you help me one night? It was supposed to be just one night. And that one night ended up being almost a year and a half, like 18 months, maybe longer than that, working night after night after night, teaching all day long. But I was young and I was a kid. But what I learned is if you need to stay awake and not fall asleep, whether it's class, especially if you're military, you should already know this, you stand up, right? And if you have to, you walk a little bit. So I found in the guard shack last night, because there's nothing, we had one car through in 8 hours. One car came through, that was it. And I don't think there was anything else. Yeah, it was a long night. So there's a little step ladder, so I put it there, and then I just did my step ups, work on building power in the legs. Then I leaned against the counter, did a whole bunch of push-ups, because I have to be able to watch the cameras. So I watch the cameras when I'm doing my push-ups, and I'm doing my air squats. So every 30 minutes or so, when you're feeling super fatigued, move your body, exercise a little bit, and you'll feel a little better. Punisher says, much respect from Turkey. Sanchez asks, any blocks or parry? You can block. This, obviously, the traditional block works. If he's throwing a punch, you can intercept and follow it with a strike. Anytime you block or you parry, always follow it with a strike. Or you get really good at blocking and then eventually you're gonna get hit. Most people don't understand it. It's like boxers. Boxers parry like this, right? Boxers parry, they cover like this, they slip, and they duck, and they move. So there's a lot of ways to avoid getting hit. But I don't care how good you are at parrying and moving and slipping and covering. If you don't throw a punch back, you're just gonna allow him to time it eventually and throw enough with the numbers, he's gonna get through and knock you out. So boxers know, any fighter knows that anytime you do parry, if you wanna parry, after you parry, follow it with strikes of your own. And it's like when I used to teach kids self-defense against bullies. We have all kinds of ways to speak up for ourselves. You don't have to like me, but you can't touch me. You don't have to like me, but you can't talk to me like that. But I believe teaching kids the right words to use. Teacher says use your words, mom says use your words, but what are the words? Don't touch me, get out of my face. I have the right to defend myself. Back up. You don't have to like me, but you can't touch me. So you say that, right? Then, if there's no one there to help you, and hopefully the teacher comes, takes care of it, but if you're a kid, you're getting bullied, or you're an adult and you're getting bullied, because that happens a lot now too, then at some point if it becomes physical, I teach them, they're gonna punch you, no matter, they're gonna beat on you, whether you fight back or not. But if you start to fight back when someone's beating on you, you're gonna cut it in half how many times you get hit. At least in half. So you've got to fight back. So if you do wanna block or parry, this is a block, this is a block, this is a block, this is a block. Traditionally, there's deflecting blocks, it's a parrying motion that you would do. You can do it with your stick, you can do it with your hand. But don't just do that. Block and then strike. You can block, bam, you can hit him all in the same motion. But that's how you, if you were to use that, that's how I would use it. I would hit him first. Let's see what else. ABCDEFG says hello. Namah Shivaya. Let's see. John, can you explain how to disarm somebody if they've got a knife in the hand? If you have a nunchuck, he's in the UK, knife crime is getting bad in the UK. People are getting stopped at left, right? Don't try to disarm the knife, right? If he's coming at you with a knife and you can't get out of there, I mean, a lot of the knife attacks that I've been seeing that are happening in the UK, they're from untrained people. They're just people with big kitchen knives and they're doing massive amounts of damage because they're stabbing and people are doing this. First of all, don't do this. Instead, do this. Come in this way. Cover all of your vital organs. If he's gonna slash you, it'd be better if he slashes you here than here. He slashes you here, you can bleed out. So get like this, close that distance, stick that in his elbow. If he has that knife, if your hand can go and pin the knife, right? Where's my knife? He's coming at you with that knife. If you can pin it to your body, pin it to your body while you strike him with the elbow in his face until you knock him out or knock him unconscious. And don't stop fighting until it's over. Because if he gets that knife in you, you're in trouble. Now, if he knows what he's doing, if he's a knife fighter, he's fought because he's been in prison or, you know, I don't know, he's trained Kali or Salat or Skull. Most likely those guys are not gonna attack you because they have good values and common sense. They're good people. It's usually the crazy, mentally ill people. But you saw the knife attacks in Australia. The guy picked up a bollard and the guy came at him with a knife. He's got the bollard, he has this big pole and he's pushing him and the guy couldn't get through his defense with just a big pole. That's where your stick can come in. Or your umbrella. You can have a full-size umbrella if you're in London. They'll take these away from you. They'll definitely take your nunchucks. But get something. Use your backpack, take your backpack off and use that as a shield and hit him with it as he comes close. And then as he comes close and that interrupts his knife, try to pin that knife to the body and try to knock him out, smashing to the head with the elbows. Now you'll see some Kali guys will teach you to do all kinds of fancy dancy steps. I'm not gonna do that. If he's got a knife, I'm gonna go right for his face. I'm gonna be striking with my fist as hard as I can to try to knock him out if I don't have anything else, or my elbow, and my other hand is gonna try to pin that against his body or against your body. Either way, you just wanna get it pinned. You don't want it to be stuck in you. And if it is stuck in you and it's pinned, leave it there for now, right? It's better than if he pulls it out and he gets you, and he hits that femoral artery and then you're dead in a pool of blood within seconds, right? But it's a scary proposition. Best thing, and I know you can't carry mace if you're in UK. They'll punish you. Even if he's got a knife, you can take it out and mace him, they'll probably have you up on charges. Even if you said it, I'll probably get on charges for now. They'll try to fly me over. But I like London, I like England. Maybe it'll be a nice vacation. Anyway, it's just a joke. You try to use a tool, try to get behind something. Pick up a chair, put the chair between you and him, but have a plan. If you see that knife coming out, do something. Yeah, defend the snake, Sanchez says. Stuart says, John Payne, strike the hand or the head and get away. Yeah, if you can, knock him out, break his hand, and then get out of there. Don't try to wrestle him if he's got that knife. But if he's closed that distance and he's already stuck it in you a couple times, or you see it coming, you might not even know if you've been stabbed until later. If you can, if it's on top of you, pin the knife, go for the head and try to knock him out, disrupt as much as you can. But don't try to strip it. I can teach you all kinds of knife disarms. I can teach you gun disarms. I think they're all impractical because they fail 99% of the time. Let's see. Any other great questions? T. Carlton says, what do you think of strikes, Kali sticks? Yeah, I like the Kali stick strikes. If he's coming, I mean, the same thing as like if you had an expandable baton and a police officer and he's coming at you with a knife, you can create distance and you can keep him back, but just make sure that your strikes are clean and that you've practiced them. Don't have these wide loping strikes, right? Have everything coming off of your shoulder, stay behind your sticks if you have two. That's where you can use one to hit him in the head, the other to take out his knee, and you can fight that way, or smash the hand that's carrying the knife. So I would do that. Krubli says, thank you, God bless. Krubli's in Alaska. Jean-Pierre Home says, bonsoir. De Jean-Pierre, France. Welcome from France. And anyways, it's super hot. I do have to go rinse off now before I go to work. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for being here.